Sandy here with you today, sharing a process video for My Creative Scrapbook. I thought I'd start with this sweet little shabby chic page that I created with one of my favorite papers from the kit. I used the A side, which I kind of try not to do sometimes, but it was so pink and pretty, and I just thought it was a good place to start. So anyway, I've cut out a photo of a little girl picking strawberries, and I'm going to use that little frame from the die cut elements, and it's a little twig with some strawberries in the corner, and I was trying to leave some white on the edges to adhere my photo to the frame, but I had a little bit too much, so I had to trim some off. And there you can just see me running a little bead of my berry glue to adhere my frame. And there on the paper you can see some of the layers that I'm going to be putting underneath the photo. I've got one of the index cards from that's got green gingham check on it, and I'm going to use a tag and a couple other pieces, but I'm going to begin by distressing the edges with Vintage Photo Distress Ink. I don't plan to be putting any wet medium on the page, so going with the ink is going to be fine. Shouldn't be able to get any smearing with that. So there, I just spend a little time going over each of the elements and getting them prepared. I bring out the balloons too, because I spent about a day the day before figuring out what pieces I wanted to use along with my photo, and kind of planned out how I wanted my page to be. So sometimes just knowing where you're going is really the first part of creating any kind of layout. Getting an idea of where you want your photo to be, how many photos you want perhaps, and then what you want to choose from your kit to go along with. So I've got that index card, and I'm bringing in a tag that's got florals and strawberries on it. That's going to be real pretty, and I want to use that little strip of text that's got several pieces on it, and that's going to go behind what I have in my hand there. And I did tear away, or I am tearing away some of it, because I thought I could use that for another project. Even though this was my fourth project of the kit, I still have lots of embellishments left. I did finish up all my flowers this time, but there, the back piece is going to be one of the 4x6 pieces that came from the page that had some 2x6s and these 4x6s on there. And it's going to work real nicely just to be a layer behind all these elements right here, and everything fits really nicely. There's just a little bit of the 4x6 showing at the bottom, but I choose to keep it there. Although I thought about trimming it away, but I'm going to be using that little banner you see over on the right, and it seemed to help make that pop a little bit more than the solid pink, or more solid pink. It's really got polka dots in it. But anyway, there I'm using some corrugated cardboard, because I do want to lift these elements off of the 4x6 just to give some dimension to my page. This one is not going to go in an album. This is probably going to be one that I will keep in a plastic bin, or I'll put on display here in my scrapbook room. I like to rotate those things just to be there for inspiration, and to just remember, some of the ones that are more special to me. So I'm going to put that down, and I had thought about using the stencil from last month's kit to add some color around this focal area, but I tried to do that first, and I just wasn't sure where everything was going to end up. So I do go ahead and do this piece of it before I bring in the stencil. But there I decided to use that little half doily with all the little strawberries on it that came from the kit, and I'm just going to tuck it in among the layers there. Sometimes they'll have the whole circular piece, but this time it was the half pieces, which is nice because usually you're tucking them into something like this. And there I'm just going to bring my T-square to make sure that everything is lined up straight. There are polka dots on that background, but you can't always trust your pattern to be exactly squared up with your page. So I'm just placing that and thinking about whether I have it high enough or if it's exactly where I want it to be. I do take into account that I'm going to be bringing in the balloons and the flowers here a little later. Here is that stencil from last month, and it had a couple of berry stems in it, and I thought these would be perfect for adding back behind where I'm going to add some florals and just in a few other places. I'm thinking now that I really could have used a green like is in the florals on the edges of the paper, but I thought that this would show up nice on the background paper, and I hadn't used any of my worn lipstick in a while, and I thought that would just be fun to have a play with that and bring in some more, pinky red. So I'm going to put one more branch on there. And like I said, it would have been a lot easier to do this ahead of time, if I had kind of penciled. If I'd have known everything was going to fit on that 4x6, that would have been great. Then I could have just put some pencil points on the paper and gone ahead and done those clusters ahead of time and maybe brought them in just a little bit more. But there, I'm going to put the banner down at the bottom, and I'm just going to put some random spots of glue. And of course, I drop it and make a mess. I'm a messy scrapbooker sometimes. But I think that's a sweet little banner. It adds a real nice little shabby chic feel to the page. And I go ahead and distress the edge of that. And I'm leaving it empty for now. You're going to see that I'll have a use for it here in just a moment. It's going to be kind of a backdrop to something else. And then I worry that it's not perfectly straight, so I bring out my T-square again just to line that up. And then I come in with my balloons. I wasn't sure what I was doing there, but anyway, I am playing around with them one more time as to whether I want the balloons to be under the focal area and peeking out, or whether I want them to be kind of on top of some of those elements. And I decide to go on top, so I'm going to have to add a couple of pieces of foam square and put that over on the left, because over on the right there is that corrugated cardboard that I need to account for, so I needed to balance it out. I'm just showing you there some Shimmers paint that I used on my white flowers to make 2 or 3 of them a more pinky peach color. And the first was a Vibes, I believe, Pop Art Pink. I don't know if it's still in their inventory or not, but they might be able to make it for you. The other one is the Rose Gold, and it's got a third name to that, but I forget what it is. But anyway, there I'm just putting in some sisal from my stash to bring some texture back behind my floral elements. And I'm careful as to how I place the flower so that the leaves are pointing the direction that I want. Oh, there I'm pointing out to you the little die cuts that I've already put on the little tree trunk there in the right hand corner. Those little tiny pieces kept falling off of my media mat, and so I decided ahead of time that I wanted to go ahead and glue them down on the tree trunk so I wouldn't lose them. I could have put them in a container, but there's the honey jar and a heart and a book with a mushroom on it, and then added in a couple of ladybugs, and I added in a little word phrase. And so I want to add in a little snail, so several little pieces there to enhance that little tree trunk. But there you can see I put in 1 white flower and 2 of the altered flowers, and I did put a little bit of corrugated cardboard underneath that white one. And there I've used a couple of book plates from the die cut pack, and I believe there was 3 of them, but I decided to just use 2, and I decided to use them instead of the banners with the fishtails on the end of them. I thought they would be something a little different to use. And there I'm tucking in a die cut little, I call it a watch. It's kind of a swatch face shape to it, but I tuck it into my floral cluster there on the left. And then I'm bringing in that little cart that has strawberries and florals in it. I thought that would be cute to put over on the right hand side of my cluster. And I did entertain the idea of putting my title on top of that, but I play around with it a little bit and I decide that I do want it kind of over to the right side of my photo and to kind of linger over the wheelbarrow a little bit. I thought it helped to balance the balloons that are over on the upper left-hand side. But it's a sweet little phrase that says all the little details. And that's true. That's why I had to put all those little bits down there on the tree trunk. And I already had some corrugated cardboard on my desk, so I went ahead and used that as the backing for my cart, so that it would be elevated. It'll be dimensional as well as the other, and it just looks really nice that way, and it helps it to be more of a focal point for you. So I'm putting it there, and it does cover up the bottom of that square, but that's kind of why I wanted that frame to be behind there. It kind of helps to bring all the elements together. So now I'm going to go back and glue down those florals in the upper right. And I'm just using the Barely glue today. And there I had to go off camera for a second because I forgot my sisal, so I had to go back and re-glue that just a little bit. I think I'm going to have to stop my voiceover just for a moment and crop up my next few frames just a little bit more. There I am being a mess. Okay, I'm back. I thought that I was too much off camera there, but everything is fine. So anyway, I bring over a little strawberry in the shape of a heart, and I am playing with it to see where it might go, and it would look pretty good right there, but then I tucked it into the floral cluster, and I really liked it there. It kind of makes the flowers pop a little bit off the page because it's a darker color, and it just looks like it belongs in there. And then I play around with adding a center bud from another flower where I just use the back part of it. And I think that that does not stay, even though I spend some time trying to glue it down. And it would work, but I think that I opted not to use it. I don't have the layout in here for me to refer to, but I don't think it makes the cut. And then, of course, you know how you think you're done, and then you think of more things you want to do. But I'm going to start with using some Dina Wakley gloss spray to splatter around on my page. Oh, there's a snail that I'm adding to the little cart. I thought that would just be kind of a fun thing to do. It made me laugh. I don't like snails in my flower garden, but this is paper, so all is well. Anyway, so I continue with my splattering, and I think in the end I do come back with some white acrylic paint and actually do more splattering because this didn't seem like enough. It's definitely more of a shabby chic page, so I thought that it needed lots of white on it. But once this glossy is dry, which dries pretty quickly, I'm going to come back in with some rub-ons because I decided that I needed to maybe use a few more of those, and They're black, so I thought they would stand out really nicely. And I thought I could use some between my focal area and then that little cluster on the right-hand side where the tree trunk is. I felt like adding some verbiage and some text there would kind of bring those areas together. So there is the Believe piece that I have cut out from the rub-ons, and I'm just going to use the popsicle stick that comes with the rub-on to go ahead and rub it off, and then trying to be sure I cover everything. Whenever I lift up a rub-on, I always, pull up the cover to make sure that I've gotten all the black or whatever color it is, down, because, you can lay it back down and rub some more if you didn't get all of it rubbed off. But anyway, these are from Simple Stories. They work very nicely, and they're really easy to work with. And then I decided to bring in a little text piece. Well, first I experiment with that little joy that I had cut out, but I decided no, that was too much. So I'm going to go back and grab a text piece. And then I think off camera, I also add a butterfly over on the left and also a bumblebee up there in that upper left-hand cluster up above the balloons. And I also add that wee tiny little butterfly that was from the laser cuts, I believe, either from the laser cuts or the die cut pack. Anyway, adding all of that right there, I think that really helps everything to blend in really well. Coming up is going to be another photo of my layout and some close-ups. There's going to be details below about how you can order a kit, or how, better yet, how you can subscribe to the Kit Club. And I'm going to have some things here for you to enjoy. Be sure and check out the details. Thanks for coming by. Like and subscribe if you want more of my videos to pop up in your feed. Bye-bye.